When we had to answer, we answered. I challenged Hoyas at halftime. You can't play like this and us win. And he just stepped it up, monster. He had a monster second half. Elijah got some looks. He can shoot. He can make those. I think we can shoot the ball better from the three. We did in the second half. We ended up 8 for 28. We're better than that. We can shoot the ball better than that. I just told Jalen, I said, they're leaving you open for a reason. And, at the end, he had to take that three and hit every part of the backboard and rim that it could. And unfortunately, it stayed down. Tyus made a couple big plays there. He just took it over. He had a phenomenal second half against a really good defensive team. He made some really, really tough shots, some really hard shots. I don't know what he shot in the second half, but he was 1 for 7, I think, at halftime. So 7 for 11. That's pretty good. But he was spectacular. I thought Jalen did a good job. Frank got in foul trouble. I thought Jalen did a good job. I thought Frank was looking to go a little bit more. I told him he's got this week. He's got to really run, really get back and get in the lane. He did get in the lane a couple times, and he's got to do that. He's not shooting it that well from the perimeter. He's got to get in the lane.
Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased, orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it, and as always, subscribe if you would. And I apologize that we're late. Joe was snowed in. He was snowed into his cabin out in the woods, so he could not do the show last night like normal. But Syracuse pulled off an excellent comeback against Georgetown. How awesome was that to watch? It was the second year in a row this has happened in similar fashion. And this year it was in regulation, though, as opposed to last year in overtime. 72-71 is a tale of two halves. Once again, it was almost the identical game in kind of in retrospect. Scoring 22 points in the first half and 50 in the second. That's insane. And we'll give you our ODU preview to come later this week, probably Thursday. They play Saturday. It's Saturday, so we'll come back later this week with that. So today is Georgetown only. But first, you like watching football? You like playing fantasy sports? Adds a little bit of flair to the game, right? Well, think about this. Think about, instead of sitting on the sidelines, you throw some money down. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy or gal that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like numbers on roulette, you can create a big parlay, pick 3 teams to win. If you hit all 3, you could turn $100 into $600. Boom, just like that. There's tons to bet on. We've been over this. NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball, NHL, custom props, esports, which is not a sport. I think we've determined that. MyBookie is one that I know you'll be happy with all year. I recommend these guys because I trust them. I've used them. MyBookie has been in business for years. They've got great online reviews. The mobile site is easy to use. And sign up this week, and MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus to jumpstart your bankroll. It's a great way to bank even more money when you win. So make sure you also follow them at BetMyBookie on Twitter. They'll personally respond to every mention in DM, not to mention that they've given away more than $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. And you'll also be the first to know as soon as new odds or props are posted. Log on to MyBookie right now and use a promo code Cuse25 and get the 50% deposit bonus. That's promo code Cuse25. You play, you win, you get paid. MyBookie. All right, so quickly. Before the Northeastern game, the delay, we didn't know all the details on that medical emergency, but apparently,
what happened?
We just want to give a little Cuse Militia shout out. So, there was fans and everybody involved in this while the Dome crew was on their way. Firefighter Daryl Traps, I think it's Traps or Taps, one or the other. he happened to be at the game. He was close enough to jump in and do chest compressions and CPR. And Candace Nessler, who was a registered nurse, happened to be at the game, sitting a few rows in front of the man that was having the medical emergency. She and Daryl performed CPR on this man, who at the time when they got there, he didn't even have a pulse. So they did their thing to kind of keep oxygen going into this man's brain, while dome staff, made their way over to the man with a defibrillator, and they literally shocked the man back to life.
Whoa.
Yeah, the man and his family wanted him to remain anonymous. He obviously suffered cardiac arrest, and when he left the dome, he was responsive and conscious, and he was taken to Upstate University Hospital and is either recovering still or has probably since been home. But what an amazing thing.
Great story.
Yeah, right? And
you knew it was something serious because it delayed the game. So, and
yeah,
when you get in those situations, you never know who's going to be available to step in. And glad you get those outstanding citizens that had the training to do that.
Just happened to be right there. Close enough to make a difference.
Right.
And I guess there was no signs. The dude just stiffened up and kind of slouched. I guess he dropped his beer and everything, and that was that. But thank God he's okay. And
yes, glad it all worked out.
Yeah,
it's a great story.
So we just wanted to give those fans a shout out. QB Will Greer is going to skip the bowl game. This was speculated long before they even announced they were playing. So playing Cuse, I should say, and. He's thrown for, he's excellent. He's a precision quarterback. He's awesome. Yeah. He's thrown for 3,864 yards and 37 touchdowns this season. And his left tackle, Yadni.
Kajust. Yeah, Kajust.
Names come here to die, Joe. Names come here to die. So both of them are going to skip the bowl game. And
I don't really blame them, when it comes down to it. We've had this conversation, and you have the fans that, may or may not be upset about it as far as West Virginia fans and stuff. But Kajust is, I think Kuiper's got him as like a top 7 player. You're talking about possibly, upwards of the first half of the first round, and Will Greer is going to be a top 3 to 5 NFL prospect. You never know what's going to happen in the offseason. So, Kajust announced first, and I don't think it's ever a speculation. If you play football up to a point like college, like this far going to the NFL, fear of an actual team or anything like that is that's out the window at that point. If you play at that level, there is no fear to play against somebody. It just comes down to there's a lot of money on the line, and any type of injury could happen to anybody. So. And look at Dungy last year with his foot. He slid when the coaches told him to stop going head first and trying to run people over. And the first time he slides and listens to his coach, he breaks his foot. So you never know what's going to happen. So, you can look at it in one way is, okay, your NFL left tackle is gone, and Syracuse leads the country with, they're 10th in sacks in the country. And they have taken out some quarterbacks last year. So, it's not the best matchup, but again, it has nothing to do with fear. They thought they got kind of, a bad bowl break. The Iowa State got a better bowl than them, and they thought they're going to be playing a better team than Syracuse. And who knows? Even if they were in that game, he might be sitting out too. So I don't think it's anything about being afraid. If anything, it gives West Virginia fans a reason to say something just in case we do something, and then it opens it up for us, because if we can't beat them without Greer or that their best offensive, probably NFL prospect right now, then we definitely wouldn't have beat them with those guys. So
right, and
I would have liked to have seen them straight up, but you don't hear people when McCaffrey was doing it and the Bosas of the world. It's a new thing, and when you don't need to play in a the Senior Bowl, or you don't need to play in another bowl to try to get extra eyes on you, because you're pretty much kind of stated everyone knew Christian McCaffrey was good. Everyone knows Will Greer is good. So he doesn't need to play a bowl to prove that. And all it can do is cost him millions of dollars. So
Right.
Smart move.
Yeah, it sucks for the fans. I feel it would suck for us if it was the shoe was on the other foot, but I understand it. So,
Right. Well, we've had to deal with it with, the basketball players.
Sure.
The Malachi Richardsons, the Tyler Lydens of the world that, so some people understand it and some people just are bitter about it. So I'll never fault anybody for doing something for their future and their money.
Yeah.
So.
This Georgetown recap is brought to us by JP Mulligan's. Happy hour every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. Trivia Tuesdays, every NFL game every Sunday. And, of course, they've got every SU game there. Go there, hang out with other Cuse fans, enjoy the game,
Oh, yeah.
Get a frosty beverage and some wings, burger,
Some wings.
Whatever.
Bet you it was wild
They
in
got
that
great
bar this past Saturday.
Oh, that's right. I bet all the bars were popping.
Oh, yeah.
If you see Nick, go ahead and see if he's got any Cuse swag, and I'm sure he'll be happy to give you some. So That is that. Syracuse erased a 15-point deficit in the second half to disappoint the Mutts from Georgetown for a second year in a row, 72-71 in front of 24,082 fans inside the dome. It looked and sounded like more than that, but 24,000. Normally we'd be pushing around 30, I think, for Georgetown, but it's all good. Still a good crowd, and they were loud when they needed to be. The unsung hero in all of this, in my opinion, was Marek, who put himself in position to take a lowered shoulder from Mosley with Georgetown up by 1. That set up Tyus' shot. Marek only played 14 minutes, but he's the dirty deeds doer. He's dirty deeds Dolajai, all right?
No, it's one play.
Yeah, it's one play, but it's the one play that set up the shot for Tyus. And I'm not taking anything away from Tyus, but Marek does a lot of things that don't make this stat sheet, and so we give him the shout out.
I'll definitely give him the shout out for one of probably the most timely play. But
very timely, sure. But it happened, right? Are you here to change history?
Not the hero.
The unsung hero. The unsung hero.
Yeah.
Tyus scored 5 points. Tyus scored 5 points in the first half and came up with 21 in the second. That was great. He was brilliant, taking it to the hole in the second half. And it's no surprise to me that that's how the gap was closed. Not by taking threes, but taking it to the hole. So, and that's how it goes. What Tyus have said?
What changed for you guys from the first half to the second half?
We were getting good looks. We were just missing shots. So that wasn't going to last the whole game. So we just kept on doing what we did defensively, and we made shots, and the outcome was positive.
You say defensively. That feels like maybe that changed it because you got out on some fast breaks there in the second half off turnovers. How much did that get you guys going with the energy early in the second half?
It got us going. It changed the game, honestly, the momentum of the game. We were able to get out in transition to get some easy baskets, and that just got our whole game flowing.
Coach told us he challenged you at halftime to get going.
Yeah, he does. He does that from time to time, and he's a great coach, Hall of Famer, and that's what you have to do sometimes, and he woke me up.
He woke him up. Hughes, again, is the safety valve following up the leading scorer with 15. He had some clutch shots closing that gap against the Hoyas. Brissett was one rebound away from his third double-double of the season with 12 points. Yeah, English, Sean. 12 points and 9 rebounds. Chukwu with 8 points again, getting that consistency we all want to see. Jalen Carey's stat line on paper was a little mediocre, but his 3 points came with 2:35 to go and put Syracuse up by 1. 27 seconds later, a monster block. Javon Blair's 3-point attempt. Georgetown is who we thought they were. Govan and McClung kept them in this game. They combined for 40 points of the Hoyas' 71. And when you look back at it, overall, we got out-rebounded big time. 40-31, but Georgetown pulled down 13 offensive rebounds. And Syracuse pulled down only 6 of their offensive rebounds. And the struggles continue at the line. And I remember that from last year vaguely, the struggling at the line. So it's just
it's getting old.
Yeah, that's got to improve, man. From the line, let's see, what were they?
14 and 22.
So yeah, not great, man.
And they were good shooters. If it's the guys like the Siebes or the Chukwas of the world, where you're only expecting one of two, then that's one thing. But those were misses from Brissett, misses from Battle. So, we got to close that gap instead of leaving 8 points out there, maybe 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Just got to be over 75% in my opinion. And obviously the rebounds, we got to be there too. So what Ty's Battle said, we came out and we just second half, we put it on him on defense. And we talked about this multiple podcasts that the defense is what makes us go around. You know, we did get some good looks in the first half. I don't think Elijah Hughes is going to miss that many open threes in a row in a half again. But Frank Howard's still working back. And again, like just the defense gave us a spark. They stepped up. They didn't allow them to do too much. I don't know what happened to Matt McClung because he was playing pretty well, and then he was not even in the second half. So I don't know if it was that fall where, he landed on his back and it tightened up during halftime or something. But the second half, you could tell that they were struggling to score, and we weren't, obviously. The only thing that kept them in the game were that Malinsky that went 3 for 3 from the 3-point line, and then that Blair, that lefty there that hit a timely three, I think, to put them back up.
Yeah.
And how about that last shot?
I mean, the last shot, when it goes up, you got
double pump.
Yeah, it was a little. Well, see, so let's start back at the other end though. When Mosley drove, he drove probably too early. And being up by one, it was a big mistake. Yeah, because I was expecting probably. I think the difference was 4 or 5 seconds. Shot clock to game
I think
clock.
It was like 5 seconds shot clock. Yeah.
So I was looking at about 4 seconds or so, with them possibly being up by 3, hoping with no foul. That's what my worry was. My worry was them sinking something, driving the lane with a foul, because that's just.
Well, my worry was make or miss. If they would have played it out to the end of the shot clock, I mean.
Right, because if you get the rebound,
you're not even going to have a chance. Because
right.
if it hits the rim, goes up. I mean, he shoots it at 1, and then it takes the ball's up in the air a couple seconds, then comes off the rim. I mean, you're talking about getting a rebound and having to call a timeout, and maybe having 2 seconds. So, I mean, when that happened, I mean, I was questioning the call the whole time. I didn't know. I thought we were going to try to double team and press them and try to make something happen real quick, and then leave a little bit of time to be able to still get the ball back. But I mean, I'm not a college coach with over 1,000 wins, so I'm not, in my head I was second guessing it, but I'm not going to second guess it out loud. It obviously worked out, and
well, they planned for them to try to drive the lane. I believe is what Coach said in the press conference.
They forced him.
Yeah, basically. So I mean. So at halftime, this is what kills me with these fools on Facebook, and I'm sorry if you're one of them, but this is really dumb of you to get on Facebook or Twitter at halftime and call for Jim Boeheim to be fired, saying F you to the players and F you to people like us and a couple other outlets that cover the Orange. And
I still think it was a troll. But.
Yeah, well, he's an SU fan. He's an SU fan.
Allegedly.
Right, well, true.
Didn't sound like it.
But no. But you're calling for this guy's firing, and then he just puts on he orchestrates a brilliant second half. He motivates Tyus. I mean, obviously, whatever coach told him was. I mean, he came out and he scored like 10 points in like 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Brissett hit the boards hard, and Elijah Hughes came out shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't just battle. So,
no.
I mean, Chukwu played. I mean, he and Boeheim mentioned it in the press conference. Chukwu played, an integral part of that defense and stopping the ball down.
Jalen Carey was awesome in the second half.
Yeah, Jalen Carey I thought played great.
Coming in for Howard. I think Howard had maybe 1 or 2 bad calls on him, but Jalen Carey did a good job. I was nervous about it, but back to the shot though. When you got 10.6 seconds left, and I'm watching that go up, and it was an awkward looking shot, but I mean, I was not expecting it to go in. I got to be honest.
I can't say one way or another. I think in the way I looked at it, obviously you hope. But I mean, Battles made those shots.
I know he made the three to put it in. He made a 3 to put it in overtime last year against Georgetown.
Yep. So he had a game winner, I believe, his freshman year at Clemson to win.
Yeah. Yep. He did it probably a handful of times last year, hitting the last shot to go up.
Right. Or to just kind of seal the deal, hit a big shot to put it up 2 possessions or something.
Today. He's done that this year.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So, at the end of the day, he's the closer. He's the guy that needs to have the ball in his hands. And, even if he doesn't make that shot, I'm going to leave, that game in my head thinking, well, at least the right person still took the shot,
Did that play was originally designed for Hughes to have the last shot?
Really?
Yeah, that's what Coach was saying. So,
if Battle, and that's, I mean, by listening to that, that's even more kind of letting you know that Battle wanted to take that shot, I mean, they probably played Elijah Hughes a little bit better, but Battle kind of took matters into his own hands like he had the whole second half. So, I mean, he was just a man amongst boys that second half, the way that he was driving and finishing. And
I know. And it's like, awesome. Well, where was this in the first half? And
it comes off of defense, though. You know what I mean?
It
comes off of
desperation, some of it, I mean,
what's that?
Some of it was desperation. It was hard basketball, but if you just play that way,
right.
If you just play that way from the start instead of every single game having a slow start, except for, Northeastern, I mean, every other game is like we're playing catch-up to begin with, and before you know it, 3/4 of the first half is over, and we're just starting to get our legs under us. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think they should be starting off with that kind of stuff, and again, I don't think there was... I don't know. Something about this team, it just... When there's a sense of urgency, it's just like a completely different team. But they don't start the game with a sense of urgency. They have confidence in them, and they think that, they can just naturally kind of play and win. You know what I mean? Like, not have to play like with the sense of urgency, but realistically, that's kind of what you need to play with all the time. I mean, that's how you get up on teams early. That's how you wear teams down. That's how you just. You end the games. You beat them 30, 40 points. We don't do that. You see a lot of these top 10 schools, and perennial schools where they got teams like Northeastern and some of these other smaller schools that come in. I mean, they put their foot on their throat. And us, we just seem to kind of play down to the whole, competition. So they
just let them hang around all the time,
Yeah.
It's
but, I mean, the defensive intensity picked up in the second half, and that – created turnovers, which creates fast breaks, quick rebounds and kickouts, to pass up and you get fast breaks. So they were just off of their defense. It was creating more fast paced, offense. And it even got to the point where nobody could even guard Tyus Battle, and they ended up moving into a 2-3 zone. And that's really kind of what slowed us down a little bit and gave them a little bit of the time to try to catch up and get the lead back. And because we not only did we take the lead being down 15, but we were starting to we got up 4 or 5 points. Yeah, almost 7. Yeah. So they moved to 2-3, slows down a little bit. Malinsky hits a couple threes, right back into it. So I mean, they're a good team. They played tough.
They're better than I thought they were.
Yeah, and you saw they were athletic. They rolled through. They subbed a lot of people, and they were up in people. I mean, they played tough defense, and then they tried to play fast.
The defense is better than I thought it was too. I knew they had offense. I mean, you could just look at their schedule and the wins and the amount of points they were putting up. The problem is they were getting a lot of points scored on them. So
right. Well, the thing with basketball, like I said, it's all about a sense of urgency thing.
Right. And plus,
there's just always a thing where if you get up 10, 11 points, you're at home, you're playing against a team that is not as good as you. You feel like you have you feel like you have the game in hand, and you can kind of coast.
They're not a team that's that usually is playing a slower pace either. So,
right.
You could tell they were trying to speed it up. They did their best in the first half to speed it up, and it you could tell it was making a difference. And that McClung, I mean, he's gonna be a force, that kid, because he can shoot the damn ball.
Yeah, and that's not even his specialty. I mean, he's obviously
athletic
he can
shots.
Obviously he can shoot, but I mean, it's the driving to the rim and finishing, which we saw a little bit of, and obviously he's known on internet. He's an internet, sensation for dunking and all the dunks and stuff that he's pulled off. I mean, he's only 6'2", but a 2-3 zone isn't really the best defense to kind of show off his skills. But that was one of his better games all season, and you don't know what kind of confidence is going to launch into that kid, because I'll tell you what, if you were playing man-to-man, that guy would be tough.
What should we expect here, with the week off, and you got finals, and you heard Coach talking about Howard getting back to, his normal self and kind of doing some running and getting himself ready. I mean, what can we expect coming back after a week off? You got ODU coming in, which we'll go over in a few days. But they're not a slouch team, ODU. So, I mean, the week off is going to help. But with my two concerns, okay, and then you can take it from here. Howard getting back because obviously he's not 100%, and the center position. Now, I think coach has done a real good job kind of moving parts and pieces around at center.
Right.
But, going forward, it's kind of, it is what it is. It can get bad down there.
Yeah, definitely can. I know you have zero confidence in those guys down there.
No, I don't have zero confidence. I think Chukwu's done decent, but like I said in the last show, that's the least I expect him to do is 8 points. And what do you have, like 3 rebounds?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't great. So
well, that's the thing with Chukwu is that that's not even really what we need. 8 points is great. Obviously, you'd like to see more than 3 rebounds, but
1 block.
His job is to keep the big man away and to make shots that people that come into the lane and get close to the basket make shots more difficult for people. So, I mean, I would grade him by, who makes shots around him or, the field goal percentage in the lane when he's in the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's really all I really expect from him. A dunk or a layup here and a rebound there or whatever. But he just needs to make stuff difficult so people can't just get in the lane.
Right.
But, I mean, he's going to follow that a lot, obviously. Sidibe, I mean, he's a liability down there still trying to figure stuff out. But, he's a body that can go in there and fouls. And, I mean, obviously Dolce in there. And Coach talked about that, too. That might be our best lineup, especially offensively, when Dolce's in there at center. But when you play against a Jesse Govan or a big center, it's probably not going to work too well for too long. So,
right, yeah, he's a big dude.
It is, as far as the center position goes, it is what it is. And for anybody, and I think for anybody that's had any type of kind of idea of like, oh, hey, what about moving O'Shea Brissett to like
center?
Yeah, there's been talks about it. There's been people talking about it because of the people on our team. So, okay, let's move Brissett to center and put Battle and Hughes on the wings with Carey and Howard. Now, obviously, that would be our best, most athletic offensive, team. But we're going to get killed on the boards, and we would get killed down low. And Boeheim, in his press conference, he made sure to. So I'm pretty sure that somebody wrote about it or there was some type of something because he was talking like somebody in the room had maybe kind of thrown their opinion out there. I don't know if you listened to that part.
Which he admonished as, I like, everybody's fine to throw their opinions out there, but that would be the worst decision he ever made as a coach.
Yeah.
And that it would be a better decision to put Pascal at the 1 spot. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that's a little bit too far. Obviously,
Pascal. He was snuffing it out is what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. He was pretty much just putting out the last coal to that little idea,
Yeah, it sounds good, though.
In theory.
Right.
But nobody's ever – I mean, think about last year. If Brissett was a good center, or he was better than Dolce, then how come they would have never put him in there in the middle instead of Dolce?
Because, there's no way. Because Brissett is the best when he did what he did in the second half of the Georgetown game. When he's running, driving, and he's doing his thing, drawing fouls or getting.
Yeah, his best role is just to come off the bench and be as confident as possible and be that spark.
Who?
I mean, that's really Merrick.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be him, whether he's coming in at center or he's coming in for Hughes and Brissett to give them a little breather. He's just got to get over the fact that he's not a starter this year. He's not going to be playing as many minutes. We have a little bit more talent right now, and he's just got to come in and do what he's got to do. And I think he's going to be fine with it. And I think that a lot of games he'll end up finding his way down in the center position one way or another in the second half when push comes to shove or it's the end of the game like it was this past time. But
there's really no choice sometimes than to put Mark down.
Well, we don't have a choice. You know what I mean? We can't magically, We're not. Santa ain't gonna drop us off a center for Christmas.
No, unfortunately.
You know what I mean? We have what we have, and we just got to figure it out. You know, and so whatever he's doing to keep Chukwu motivated for the past, I don't know, last games, 2 halves, 1.5 games that he's actually played a little better, and he's got to keep him there. And as far as the Frank Howard thing goes, I mean, I think that's more or less just him calling him out like he did Battle. He knows that, okay, we have Old Dominion coming in, and we have Buffalo coming in. Buffalo is a highly ranked team. So if we have 2 teams coming in to the Dome the next 2 games that could beat us, and I think he's just a little worried about it, and I don't really think he's seeing that much of a difference between Jalen Carey and Frank Howard. So I think this is kind of his message of like, hey, you got a week to kind of get ready, and we're getting into a couple tough parts and tough games of our non-conference schedule, and then we're going to be getting into the conference here soon. So I mean, he's got to get his legs under him. He's got to knock the rust off. I mean, that's just really, when you have a leg injury, or he had ankle surgery. Mm-hmm. When you have a surgery, you always have that that doubt in your mind when you're coming back. You're a little bit of nervous about maybe doing the same thing to hurt it again. It's still in the forefront of your head. And so it takes a little while to get that confidence back in that body part that has been injured, or you need surgery or anything like that. And as far as you can't run obviously when you're doing that. So he obviously doesn't have the stamina. He doesn't have the legs that he needs to kind of run the team the way that he needs to and still play high minutes, because Boeheim knows that we have depth and he wants to run. He doesn't want to have to slow it down to a grind. I mean, obviously our defense is our defense. We want to keep that the same, but as far as offense, he wants to go a lot faster. Last year we had to play slow. We could only press in certain times, and now he's still kind of nervous about, whether or not Frank Howard is going to have the stamina to play those minutes at that pace.
Yeah, he only played 17 minutes. So I know.
Well, he was in foul trouble, but
I know, but still.
But still, he says he's playing too slow, and when you have someone like Jalen Carey, which we talked about, I mean, he's hungry and he's athletic, he's long, he's a great player. I love the fact that he's only a freshman and he's only going to get better. I mean, he's gotten better from the beginning of the year. So. Yeah. I think this is just his message to Frank that, hey, you got to get it together, or else, it's going to be back to, your junior, sophomore year where you were on a leash. And if you want to make mistakes or, not play like you can play, then you make a bad play, he's going to pull you out real quick, put Jalen Carey out there. And I think that he's fine doing that. So, I mean, I think he's leaving it up to Frank.
Yeah, and he should.
Well, I mean, that's the motivating thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So he's given him the time, he's given him the warning, he's told him what he needs to do, and he either shits or gets off the pot at this point. Like, that's just what it comes down to. And it's going to be on him if they split minutes and Howard doesn't get maybe the minutes that he wants.
And that's what Coach did to Battle. I mean, that's how coaches motivate anyway. I mean, you saw it with Babers and Dungy. So
no, Boeheim's always coached like that.
Yeah,
because you can just tell there's certain things he tells players, you can't do this. You just can't make this play, and then they do it. Some people have bigger leashes. When you're a junior, a senior, a sophomore, you're an upperclassman that's in there. He expects certain plays not even to be, chanced. And I have a feeling that this year, Frank Howard's going to be getting pulled out just like a sophomore year if he keeps that up, because we have someone like Carey behind him. Yeah,
Carey's just, he's just coming into his own. He struggled the first 4 games, but he didn't have any, he had Tyus at the guard spot, so a lot of that. So yeah, that was just an awkward. They're gonna
split it, right? I mean, Jalen Carey had 23 minutes, Frank Howard had 17.
Right.
So realistically, they're coming in for each other, right? So he's basically telling Frank Howard, hey, this is the week where you're gonna make the difference of, is it gonna be Jalen Carey with 10 minutes and you with 30, or is it gonna be more of a 50-50 split?
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. Well, there we go. Georgetown in the books.
Great win.
Yes. Awesome win.
It's time to hear from you, the loudmouths from the Loud House, the best damn college sports fans in the nation.
All right, go to at Cuse Militia on Facebook and Twitter. I always put the question out there at the end of the game, asking for your thoughts. And it was lit, as the kids say these days. It was really hard to choose to choose the fan feedback top 10, but I've got him here. And so here we go. At PB44, Chukwu takes a lot of heat and rightfully so, but he had a lot of unsung hero moments in the second half. Joe, yeah, we mentioned that. Coach mentioned that.
That's a comment straight to you, bro.
You think so?
Yeah, dude, you're the Chukwu hater.
Oh, come on. I have never, ever once said I hate Chukwu.
Right.
No, but you know what? You know what's funny, though?
There's over 100 episodes. You can go back.
Yeah,
you
go ahead.
You got to archive.
Every single episode of this show is available somewhere. I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
So if you could go back and you could cut out the clip of me hating Chukwu, calling him trash, send it to me and I'll play it.
Oh, hey, yep. Hey, that's anybody out there listening, but I'm going to do the work too. So hashtag you will eat crow, bro.
Oh, whatever. Hey, I hope I do eat crow on Chukwu. You know, I was hard on Chukwu, and
you just said you weren't.
Hey, look, I don't hate the guy. I love Chukwu. I want to see Chukwu succeed.
I'm not talking about your personal relationship.
Which is why I am hard on Chukwu. I mean, we've done it, you know. You sit back and you let me do it because I say all the unpopular things, and you sit there you sit there like, you know, shake your head. No one could see Joe shaking his head when I'm ripping Chukwu, but he does.
Oh, that's baloney. Oh, Pascal, don't listen to him. You're my boy, Blue.
At Wood of Green, supposed to win by 11, barely won. Hope offense gets more consistent. Are going to be a long season. So, yeah, but.
I didn't know we were supposed to win by anything.
Well, yeah. Well, the spread was what, 10.5 or something like that.
Oh,
so
come on! It's like going by projections for fantasy football.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that when we win. I don't do that. Oh, we should have won by 20, and we only won by 4. Who cares? To me, I don't really care. That game to me was I don't think it was the best win as far as the best team we've beat. I think that would be Ohio State still. But that was the best feeling win of the season, was it not? Coming back again like that against Georgetown. You got Lewis Orr and Patrick Ewing and on one side of the court, and they were up by 15. And it seemed like it was going to be a really long afternoon for Syracuse fans. And then we know the rest is history, scoring 50 points in the first. That was the worst first half of basketball.
Oh, it was so bad. We had open shots, and they were there.
Yeah.
We were there.
Hughes had a bunch. Hughes missed a bunch in the first half. He was 4
But they were 10. Open shots that just front rimmed or back rimmed or, it wasn't like we were just – it was just very frustrating because you were just waiting for one to hit. And it's like at some point it was just like,
Buddy Boeheim
I guess it's just not our –
right in front of the Georgetown bench, Buddy Boeheim airballed one, and coach was like, "Sit down, son.
That's tough." I mean, dude, that game. I mean, it's a rivalry that epitomized the rivalry game. I mean, how
absolutely.
Can you?
So did last year's. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
The year before that, they crushed us. You remember that? I remember that.
Yeah, definitely.
If not now, when 84 F Georgetown. Thank you, Mike. I mean, I need not piggyback on that comment.
I mean, that could be 1 through 10 in this segment, but we can't.
At Paul Kamala, if we play the way we did in the first half, we won't win an ACC game this year. Second half, Tyus was exceptional. Jalen brought some tremendous athleticism and speed as Frank still doesn't seem healthy and looked like he was playing in slow motion. Big-time long threes from Hughes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, dudes, obviously. It's a good thing. There's good thing there's 2 halves in a game, huh?
Yeah, and it's always like, when has Syracuse played a really good first half and then come and laid an egg in the second half? That's not really a thing. It's usually their first half sucks, and then they play better in the second half. And so this is why I was nervous, but I didn't think it was going to end that way by any means.
I mean, I think and especially the past 4 years. The past 4 or 5 years, it's just been one of those things. I mean, you go back to, remember their Virginia comeback in what was it, the Elite Eight a couple years back when we went to the Final Four or something like that.
Yep.
Or the Sweet 16 or whatever it was. I mean, I've just been used to. I kind of take the first half with a grain of salt, to be perfectly honest with you. I kind of look at what we're doing wrong, and then comes second half, I look to kind of just see that turnaround. Our defense, once we get in the locker room, I don't know, Jim Boeheim just has a way of motivating and a way of kind of changing their defense to what the other team's doing. And those past 4 or 5 years, I mean, I have not counted this team out in any second half. The amount of comebacks and everything. I mean, I was at the NC State game when they came back and then they went into overtime. That was a ridiculous comeback. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. It really doesn't matter what happens in the first half. This team comes out in the second half and plays with just a sense of urgency that it just can't be matched by these other teams. And it's just so frustrating because you're like, where was this? But
isn't it an advantage, though, in a sense, if you really, if you want to take a good out of having a crappy first half and having a team kind of own you, to be able to be the one that goes into the locker room and is like, well, this is what they're doing good and this is what we're not doing good, and be able to make those adjustments more specific than it would be when the shoe's on the other foot.
Well, yeah, because when you're up 13 or 15, what are you going to adjust?
Exactly.
What you're doing is working, right?
Right, exactly.
And then on top of that, you get the little false sense of security. And that,
Exactly.
again, we talk about that. That happens with sports. It happens with every sport. But you get up a little bit and you have that safety blanket, Oh, well, we're up 15, we can play like this, and then, we'll be able to turn it on if cut that deficit in half or something. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Uncle Mo is momentum, baby.
Yeah, absolutely. At Brandon Buskey, played an awful first half. This kind of goes to what you were saying. Played an awful first half. Great adjustments by a Hall of Fame coach. And even though the score won't show it, it was fantastic offensive second half with 50 points. I mean, that's huge. And I hope that's a sign they kicked into gear moving forward. Brandon, I hate to disappoint you, dude, but that's probably not going to be the Kickstarter moment for coming out of the gate like Wild Banshees. It's just not what they do.
Well, that's what you hope for. You see,
absolutely.
That's just the thing. I mean, you see what they can do. You see the potential there, and you're like, why can't you do that? But every game goes through its ebbs and its flows. It's a game of runs, and I don't know. Like I said, with these recent teams, it's just unless we're playing a Duke or a real high caliber team, I'm not batting an eye at a 12, 13, 15 point. Because we've seen them just erase those type of leads, a lot the last couple of years. So
yeah, a lot the last couple of years. First time really this year they've able to overcome a deficit that large.
Right.
So, Matthew on Facebook says, that was some of the worst basketball I ever seen Cuse play, followed by some of the best in the second half. Boeheim's halftime speech must have been expletive-laden and aimed at driving to the hoop.
Right.
It sure seemed that way, right? I mean, that's what they did. like I said in the recap, they weren't going to win the game by making threes. They won the game by taking it to the hole. So
yeah, and that's Brissett's got to keep doing that. And I've been impressed with him because he's actually taken down some shots and not taking them even open sometimes. There's a couple times I caught myself on Saturday shoot it. He's open, but he turned it down. And obviously that has something to do with Boeheim and earlier in the season, but
right. Yeah, that was,
I don't know.
He tried to put a stop to that.
We've always been like this. I don't know why people act like it's any different. It doesn't matter what kind of players we have or this or that. We've always. This is all I can remember. Syracuse teams. We should expect this at this point.
I know.
Even if you go back and look back in the year that we won with Carmelo Anthony, do you know how many times we were down 7, 8, 9, 11
absolutely.
points going into the second half, and they grinded it out for wins?
You know how many close games there were? 2-point win over Notre Dame. Coming down the stretch, there was a 1-point win against Auburn towards the end of the season. Are in the tournament. Yeah. And
the Oklahoma State game, we were losing double digits going into the second half.
Yeah, ended up winning 63-47.
Right.
So
and then they got into the Final Four, the Elite Eight and stuff, and they started rolling. when they beat Texas, when they beat Oklahoma, they got into a point where they knew who they were, and that's really the special teams is with that. When you have the 2-3 zone and the way that we play, minus like back in the late 80s when we really had some good teams, like filled with NBA players, like point to a season where, a majority of our wins we won, handily throughout the whole game, by 20, 25, we never did.
Right.
So
do you remember?
it is what it is. I mean, this is the way that Boeheim, the way that we run our 2-3 zone and the way that everything goes, the way we play our offense, everything, it all kind of these are the way that these games are. It's very hard for Syracuse to run away with the game with this pace. And, if certain teams can move the ball around and hit threes, I don't know. It just seemed to have always been like that. So it's just so hard for me to believe that it's like another year and people just expect 50-point halves.
Yeah, 50-point halves. That would be nice, though. Scott says, nice for the resume. Georgetown will be a good win as the year goes on. That big man they have is a pro someday. Yeah, talking about Govan. So
yeah, he's pretty good, but we thought that last year, too, when they were undefeated.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll see. We'll see, because they're 7-2. We're 7-2. They had kind of a cake schedule. We've definitely played harder teams than them this year, and they struggled to pull out some of their wins. So it'll be interesting to see. Regardless, it's a home game, so it only means so much. But I hope they are successful at least.
Oh, yeah, we beat them. It's
East.
Over, and now go out and make yourself look as good as possible to help our win.
Yeah, exactly. Steven says, one of the best kinds of wins against Georgetown, tear their heart out with 2.77 seconds left in the game. And if we can put rovers on Mars and see billions of years into the past with a Hubble telescope, they can find a way to keep the series going. Yeah, so Steven's talking about there was news that since the ACC is expanding to the 20-game conference play, that there's, we play Cornell every year, and I guess Colgate every year.
And there's preseason tournaments.
Right, and that's 2 games usually, 2 or 3. So what he's saying is that it's going to be really hard to squeeze Georgetown in. I think both schools want to still do it. It would be the first time in like 88 years that we didn't play them once a year, right? So
has it been that long? Have we played them every year since we left the Big East?
I thought we did, but I know that this last block of 4 games was a contractual thing. So wouldn't that put us right at the? Wouldn't that put us really close to just coming in the ACC?
Yeah. I mean, Boeheim, he hit up on this too in the press conference. Those games are awesome. You'd love to be able to go back and play, Villanova, UConn, Georgetown, St. John's. But and the reality of it is if you take the already non-conference games that we're not going to get rid of or take away, and then add 2 more conference games, you're talking about 8 non-conference games that we need to fill. And with the league that we already play in the toughest basketball league in the country, and now we're adding 2 more conference games to it.
Sprinkled in, by the way, they'd be sprinkled in November, is what I heard. It's the plan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they've 100% came down with an official, this is exactly, but I know that's one of the ideas that they're throwing around. But either way, those 8 other non-conference games, you got to be pretty strategic about that, because there's going to be, you don't need to load up we've had great numbers as far as strength of schedule and stuff like that the past couple of years, which has helped us get in the tournament when people thought we shouldn't because of our league. And now they're adding 2 more games, and that's just going to make it more difficult to schedule on non-conference, because we don't need to schedule. We schedule a bunch of powerhouses. I mean, if we play in the preseason tournament like this year, those are our 2 losses as a preseason tournament. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, if we take away the Northeastern, Morehead State, all these other, then just keep Georgetown, ODU, Buffalo, St. Bonaventure. That's just going to make our non-conference, more difficult than it has to be for us to still put out a good season and get into the tournament, just in case we're not a top 25 team. So
you want some scrimmage type of games.
Yeah, like what Boeheim said, you have to look out for the team. He said that that league is all gone. It's old news, and as much as the fans, and it's great to get the rivalry and the history and everything. they got to look out for them, and them playing some of those teams when they're adding 2 more games to the ACC conference. I don't know if that's really the smartest thing for them to do.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Dan says it's a W. Got to win ugly games. Also showed heart. Yeah, Joe and I, it seems like we agree on things, but we don't really agree on a ton, do we? The one thing we do, well, you and I think we agree on a lot, but there's some things that we completely disagree on. But one of the things we do agree on is if you come out with a W, it's a W. Whether or not you want to criticize them after, they did show heart. It's a W. I agree. You got to win the ugly games, because if you don't, it's an ugly loss. So,
I don't know, man. You were banging on me though the other day about that.
I was banging on you. What game was that? I can't remember. Was it Cornell?
Was it Cornell?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Everyone's
I called
got
you
their
out.
expectations.
Sure, I did. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, look. Exactly. You just hit it.
We agree on a lot of things, but at different levels.
Pretty much. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. And it's the expectations, like you said.
Right.
I wasn't expecting that Cornell game to be, and neither were you, because you called them to win by 20.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't expect it, but
you called. That was your call for the game. So, ugly win is better than an ugly loss. Is I guess what I'm saying. I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
An ugly win is better than any loss.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I meant to say. An ugly win is better than a pretty loss. Is what I meant to say.
Look at you agreeing with me.
Dusty says the team showed us when others aren't playing their best, others can step up. And our defense was great. I agree with the first part. I would disagree with the second part. I don't think the defense was great. It was decent.
No, minus a couple 3-pointers. Our defense was pretty good in the second half.
In the second half, right? I mean, it was decent. But yeah, we talked about other players stepping up. Was that last game? Was that the Northeastern game? We always talk about that because when
Tyus Battle and Frank Howard had to combine 4 points in that game, and it was Elijah Hughes and Brissett.
Right, that's right.
And then there was another game before that when Elijah Hughes didn't do anything. So,
right before that, yeah. And Battle and Brissett took control of that game. So yeah, that's the dynamic that we have with this team that we kind of missed last year. So that's what Boeheim was putting in Battle's mind, I know that they know that they have other options, bigger, more depth and everything like that. But when you got Elijah Hughes missing those open threes, Frank Howard leaving his feet when he shouldn't and getting dumb offensive fouls and having to sit, you can't sit there and just kind of keep passing the ball around and distributing. Like there's a time where, as Tyus Battle needs to know, he needs to be able to realize it. And I think that was just one of those things. Boeheim, he had to wait till halftime to kind of get in his, in his head and challenge him. But I think that's one of those things that he wants Tyus Battle to understand during the game. You know what I mean? Like, look, these guys aren't doing it. You gotta go. Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and he stepped up. He answered the call. So,
yeah.
But that's it. That's your fan feedback top 10. We're running over a little bit, and I think it's justified. Great game.
Yeah.
Could be
Georgetown.
Could be the last time we see Georgetown for a while. So wanted to give it everything that we could and expand on some of that feedback. The feedback was great. Keep that up, man. Well,
you got to hope that we keep it. I mean, even if it's not every year, maybe hopefully at least, every 2 to 3 years.
Rotation, some kind of rotation or something.
Right, just so that you can get a majority of the classes. Usually you guys come in and play 3 or 4 years, so hopefully within everybody's time playing at either Syracuse, Georgetown, they can get at least one taste of that rivalry.
Yeah, because Tyus has joined the books, the likes of Pearl Washington, Jerry McNamara. I mean, some of those freaking buzzer beaters and these clips. I had so much fun on social media this week because I just was going and pulling all those great clips. A couple from Pearl back in the day, Jerry Mack just in 01 or 02, I think that was, and
Jerry McNamara, I think that was 04.
Was it 04? Okay.
04. I mean, I think it was his senior year when he
when we wouldn't have won 10 effing games without Jerry.
Yeah, and he went and won the tournament. Yeah. And I almost got to watch the game with Joe P. He was driving in from Charlotte and missed him, but I got to Got to hang out with him.
Yeah, well, y'all plastered your ugly mugs on Twitter. So
hey, man, that was all him, dude.
I figured. So yeah, though Tyus is in that group now. I mean, Tyus is like solidifying his orangeness, if you will.
He's solidifying his clutch.
Yes, definitely, and so we'll just see what happens. But it was awesome.
Yep.
Any final thoughts, real quick, Joe, before I do my thanks and all that fun stuff?
The only thoughts I have, well, not even thoughts. It's more or less news. You saw today. It was weird, but Syracuse made it back in the top 25, although they are tied with 3 other people in the top 25. And I think they did like they updated the power rankings for the ACC, and I think they have us in 6th right now. So that's kind of the movement in the rankings for Syracuse basketball after this past weekend. A
week off and just a few more, I think 4 more non-conference games, folks, and then it begins. So
yes, sir.
The battle is almost over. It's almost time for the war. So I want to thank Shamitown Barbershop, open Tuesday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:45. On Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2. $15 cuts with 6 full-time barbers. Family-friendly atmosphere and TVs for your viewing pleasure while you get tightened up there. And it's the only real game in town. Go there, see Joey, see Dino, and tell them that Joe and Sean from the Cuse Militia sent you, and they have a little bit of swag there, so don't forget to grab some of that. JP Mulligans, thank you. My bookie, yes, thank you. Armchair All-Americans, James on guitar. All of you for listening, all of you for participating in the fan feedback, and I enjoyed all of the tweeting and things, all the shenanigans for the Georgetown game this weekend.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a lot of fun. Shout out to at Real Tim Primo. He's a good follow on Twitter, folks. Did you see that retweet I tweeted of his? This guy is everywhere. I don't know how he got a picture of himself looking like he's pissing on the Georgetown bus, but he did it. And kudos to him. So it was just off the chain, as the kids say, on Twitter this weekend. And thanks, everybody, for that. So that's it. That is it.
Yes.
Another episode of the Cuse Militia podcast is inevitable as ODU comes into the Dome. I guess it's this Saturday at noon, so the 15th of December. And we'll get that episode done later this week. For Joe, I'm Sean. We're out. Cue the bells. Cue the bells.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Cuse Militia Podcast, the fan's voice with Sean and Joe.
Stupid bells.
Shut the hell up, freaking Grinch.